Hello everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video. This is your boy Arc3, and for today, I will be showcasing 10 different teams for all of you mid-game players out there so that you can have the ability to farm the different game modes available in the game. Before we begin, let's define what the mid-game is first. So the mid-game is a definition of field and roster GP. So it's around usually between 1 to 5 million GP, where we are still doing the events or like doing our best to farm them. So for example, in my guild right now, I still do not have the ability to farm the Crankor, but we're like slowly doing light side GOTB, and at the same time for conquest, which is not available right now. The expectation here is that you'll be doing it regularly every month, every time it comes out, and you are doing the normal mode first. But if you are able to finish the red crate, hard mode should be the option. And for mid-game players, we're not expected to fully max it out, but for end-game players, as much as possible, max out the red crate. Lastly, for the events, as much as possible for mid-game players, you are doing your galactic challenges. I haven't completed mine yet, and the target is always maxing out the red crate here. But if you're in the mid game, you're not expected to fully max out the crate, but your goal is working towards it. That's why we're in the mid game. But if you're end game already, then the expectation is always maxing out your galactic challenges because of the gear mods, etc. And that is actually the definition for the mid game. And with that, here are like the teams that we can farm when we're in the mid game. So here are the first 3 teams out of the 10. So it will be Galactic Republic under Padme lead, Rebels under CLS, and of course Mon Mothma. So let's discuss the first team. Of course, you'll be first needing this Padme team because it would lead you to gas, and it's a really accessible event early on where you can farm a certain separatist team. And I recommend either AP Gain's guide or Arnold's guide, or if you want, I have also my own guide carded in the top right hand corner on how to finish that event, or like why the separatist team is very important when going for Galactic Legends. Going back to this team, so the team will be Padme Amidala, General Kenobi, Jedi Knight Anakin, C-3PO, and Ahsoka Tano. This is like your standard Galactic Republic team. Of course, if you have Commander Ahsoka Tano, this team will be elevated further into a much better Galrep team. Moreover, this team is very flexible in terms of its uses. It can be used early on in the Crankor raid, where you can do like 2 to 4% damage depending on the mods. Moreover, very good for the guilds in the mid game. Can be useful for your TW or GAC depending on its uses. And of course, most of the tunes here are needed for Galactic Legends. For example, Padme Amidala leads to Lord Vader, General Kenobi, of course Master Kenobi, Jedi Knight Anakin for C-3PO for Jedi Master Luke. So that's the first team. Next, we go to the Rebels. This is like your gung-ho team, guns blazing team. So it will be, of course, CLS, Han Solo, Chewbacca, 3-pack, and of course Old Ben for the tank, because we're expecting to use C-3PO for now under Galrep. This team is very useful for JAC, especially if, let's say, your opponent doesn't have a counter to this. You can place this on defense or offense. So it's technically a flex team. And the most important character here will be 3-pack. So if you haven't farmed him, please do, because 3-pack elevates the Rebel squad into a different form of team, like from a somewhat B- team into a A team already. Not yet S tier, but it's getting there, simply because there's so much assisting here. Normally, you don't use this against Padme team, but it can take out like Jedi teams, maybe Darth Revan depending on the mods, and of course Gas depending again on the mods. So this is why you want to have CLS. Next will be the Mon Mothma team as your third team of choosing. This is actually a balance of third meter and healing. and of course like some damage in between. So it will be Mon Mothma, Cara Dune, Bistan, Hoth Rebel Scout, and Pow. Very important Pow, he gives that offense up and then turn meter. And of course, this can be also a flex depending on the situation you are in. You can place in defense your Mon Mothma team alongside the Geonosian team if you have them, in order to force out a Sith Trio team immediately, or force out a certain counter your opponent doesn't want to use. So that's very useful. In offense, they counter certain specific teams like Phoenix, maybe First Order, and certain B-grade teams as well. So again, a flex team, and of course can be used for territory wars and can help you in conquest. So the fourth team I am showcasing now is the Jedi team. So it's composed of Jedi Knight Revan, Grandmaster Yoda, Hermit Yoda, Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker, and Jolee Bindo. This is a mixture of damage and healing, but more importantly, this is your counter to SLKR. So if you don't have a counter to SLKR, like an off-meta counter, this is your go-to team. Moreover, very useful in JAC, Territory War, and Conquest especially. Gives you damage, mass assisting, and of course durability. Not much to say, simply because this is still like one of the meta teams currently in the game. So fifth team is this gas counter. It should be a mixture of bounty hunters and of course Moff Gideon. Just a quick caveat though, when you're farming this team, I hope you're also doing your mods, because in order for this gas counter to work, your Grief Karga has to be very fast. Of course, your boss has to be fast and durable as well. Lastly, your Moff Gideon has to be super fast because he needs to control the situation and give the debuff immediately. Some tips on how this counter really works if you're unfamiliar. I will put a video in the description below on Zeret's guide regarding this, so that you will be more informed and have a better understanding on how this team composition works. But this is actually a very strong team in terms of countering gas. The reason why you want Aurra Sing lead is because she gets to contract and pay out really fast, which is of course very beneficial for bounty hunters. That is all for this team. So now let's move to the next one, which is the Sith Empire team. So this is composed of Darth Revan, Darth Malak, BSF, Sith Trooper, and Sith Marauder. Very useful in offense, of course, depending on the situation. So some of the cases where you want to use this team on offense is to counter maybe gas, slower gas, maybe, if you have the right mods on Darth Revan and BSF. Moreover, if your BSF is very fast, you can immediately apply Corrupted Battle Meditation on the opposing team. Of course, get Fear immediately out of the field, and more debuffs means your Sith Marauder will be hitting hard. That's why usually this team is used offensively. But of course, if your opponent doesn't have counters, you can place this team on defense. Next, Droid Seps. Not much to say. You can use this team as a additional B team for defense, offense, or whatever. So the team composition would be General Grievous, B2 Super Battle Droid, B1, Droidica, or IG-100. Sometimes we can swap out Droidica for what, but that's like a case-to-case scenario. And of course, for territory wars, very useful for your guild to have another set of defenses. So that's like the uses of the Droid Seps, besides like getting Padme early on. So that's another team into consideration. Now, leading to from Droid Seps to General Anakin Skywalker team. Not much to say here, but this is like one of the top 10 non-galactic legend teams out there. So the composition, of course, we're all familiar with. Gas, Rex, Vibes, Echo, and Arc Trooper. Can still counter Rey depending on the mod, so you can check out other content creators' guides on the proper modding so that you can turn this team into a off-meta counter. Moreover, if, let's say, given the certain situations, your opponent doesn't have a counter to gas, you can place him on defense or you can use him on offense. Very useful in conquest as well. In the recent iteration of Conquest, gas was very important because of the data disk. Like, some players were able to find the right combination of data disk in order to power up gas so that they can like breeze through the battles faster. Very useful in territory wars and of course the Rancor raid if your guild is working towards it, particularly in phase 2. Second to the last, Sith Trio. Of course, if you have Mon Mothma, might as well get the counter to Mon Mothma, which would be the Sith Trio, useful against bugs as well. Normally, you can use this team to underdog given the right mods and gear. Unfortunately, I haven't geared them up properly, so don't follow my example, gear them up. But I'll be gearing them up soon once I finish my SLKR farm. I've been using this team actually to counter Geos, certain Mon Mothma teams, or like mix them up with certain Sith that I have in order to beat certain B-grade teams or like A- teams, depending on the situation and of course the modding. Lastly, Bad Batch. I placed this last because there are like all recent additions to the game, so their farms are not yet accelerated. But this is like one of the top 10 teams of the game. If you remove Omega and play Shakti, elevates the team into a very scary one. Like, if Shakti is here, this team can defeat Gas, DR, Rebels, depending on the mods and of course the gear. And of course, they can be your go-to team in case you're like stuck in certain situations. That's how important the Bad Batch is. In fact, I've been using this more and more in my GAC. Recently, I've been using this team to beat First Order teams and Droid Separatist teams, especially if they're like low gear. And I had great success with this team where I was able to save 1 or 2 more teams with me in case I screw up in my GAC battle. So with regards to the modding, I modded this team with speed, potency, speed of course for echo, for tech, speed and crit damage. No, sorry, not crit damage but crit chance. Wrecker of course, potency and tenacity so that he can not get stunned and be a utility. So those are all of the 10 teams I showed you. And just to recap, it will be Galactic Republic, Rebels, Mon Mothma, Jedi with, of course, JKL there, your gas counter, Sith Empire, Droid Separatists, Gas, Sith Trio, and Bad Batch. That's all for today's video. I hope you learned something new. Of course, if you've been following my channel for a while, please do subscribe so that you can get more informative content such as this, and maybe a live stream in the future, or I can showcase other games once I have a proper setup, because right now I still don't have it. If you want to see my free-to-play beginner guide video somewhere here, and to all Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes gamers out there, stay safe, stay healthy, be amazing, and I'll see you in the next video.